Hey, another video again today. This is for this week. So the two stories are going to be about France and ending all fossil fuel extraction, and Uber and its uh, and the ruling in the European Justice Court or Court of Justice. So starting with France. Um, Recently, the French Parliament voted to, by 2040, end all extraction of fossil fuels. Um, Now, that seems like a huge step. Macron is trying to have France lead the way in renewable energy. And, like, for instance, in earlier this year, they voted to end the sale of all fossil fuel powered cars by 2040. And actually, even before Macron, in 2011, they banned fracking in all French territory. Now, that doesn't just mean France on the continent and Corsica, but also any and all overseas territories, because those are also technically France as well. Um, However, while this is a big step, it's important to know the amount of fossil fuels and oil that France produces could be done by Saudi Arabia in a matter of hours, like 3 or 4. Um, and most of what France does have for oil and hydrocarbons is imported. They import over 80%, almost 90%, I think. Um, Now, it is important. It's a step forward, but it's not as big a step forward as Macron and the French are trying to think, or are trying to make it seem. The only two groups that did not vote for the ban was the right wing Republican Party in France, and another party completely abstained. That would be the far left party, and one farther left than the Socialists. Um, Again, it's a huge step forward. It's important, and Macron is really. He said he wanted to be a leader in renewables, and even though it's kind of not as big a deal as people would like to think, it is kind of him putting his money where his mouth is. Um, so yeah, it's a big step forward, and hopefully, a lot of other countries follow suit. Um, I don't know. It's a good step forward. Now, in other news, also in Europe, uh, the European Court of Justice ruled that Uber must be treated as a taxi service instead of as a technology service. This stems from a lawsuit started by a taxi union in Barcelona. Um, and while it is another thing to rock Uber because they've had a pretty bad year so far, and the year's almost done. Uh, it kind of isn't that big a deal because the biggest markets that Uber has, there are 4 countries: Poland, the Czech Republic, and 2 others. You'll see them in the Associated Press article in the description below. Um, uh, uh, they're pretty much exclusively treated as taxi service. However, as they are expanding in Europe, um, some are treating them like a taxi, other are treating them like a data service. Um, However, while this ruling is a step forward and something that the taxi driver union in Barcelona hailed as a victory, what the European Court of Justice said in its ruling is that each member state must choose how to deal with it, and Uber, of course, is negotiating in every city and every country that, as they are starting to expand, yes, they have been banned from certain cities. They are trying to expand their business as anyone would, um, and they are going to try to continue to be regulated as a data service instead of as a taxi service, but with this ruling, they may have their hands a little tied. Um, but again, it's all how it is their deals are negotiated. So this video that is officially for this week is a little short, but I think these are some pretty important stories to talk about. I will see you on Thursday on New Review. See ya.